Good. All right, we're back. Fantastic. Hopefully, all of you are able to join us here on YouTube. Facebook is coming up live, Zoom is working as well. Thank you all so much for being a part of this process. It has been obviously a very odd year, and lots of things have had to adapt, and we just appreciate all of your willingness to adapt with us as we do this as well. So hopefully, we'll go over a couple things here. Hopefully, you'll be able to see both me and then on the screen as well our agenda as that happens. We'll be able to talk through some stuff. Those of you watching us on Facebook, we'll try and show you that as well as we need to. But for now, I'll just kind of talk through the agenda of what's coming up. We'll introduce some stuff. We'll talk about how we're going to vote. We have 2 votes that we're going to be doing today, and only 2. So we'll let you know how that happens. We'll be voting on the leadership team, so we'll talk about that. We'll do a little financial review of 2020 and 2021. We'll actually vote on that budget as well. We'll look at our finance team and then talk about some cool stuff coming up. An update on Cars to Housing, future building options, Lent and Easter, and then some closing stuff as well. So we'll talk about all of that coming up. But let's get to this first thing, and that's kind of who's here today, hopefully who's watching, and why you're hearing me, which, again, maybe you just think is normal, but actually, if you've been here at annual meetings before for Hope, you realize that I don't run these. Depending on the church that you grew up in, there are different styles of churches, and none of them is necessarily better than others. We like to be really clear that Hope is not a quote-unquote pastor-led church. First off, it's a Jesus-led church. And then 2, we have a group of folks that lead our church on behalf of all of you as Hope partners. We don't have membership, we have partnership. We like the idea of what it means to be a partner in ministry. It really is about kind of what you get to do, not about what you get from. So that's our leadership team and our finance team and all kinds of other great volunteers. When it comes to our annual meeting, you see them as part of what we do. It's a good reminder that, again, we're all in this together. We lead this together. But because of the quarantine and all those things like that, we're just presenting things a little bit differently. So normally I don't actually present much at this meeting, but today I'm going to. We just ask that you allow kind of your grace for that, as that's the way it's going to be. Having said that, there are 2 leadership team members that are here in the building, Wendy Jones and Greg Walker, so they're here to represent leadership team. They can answer questions if you really want any of them to come up. They'd be happy to jump on up and do that as well. Also, there are leadership team members that are monitoring the chat, both on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So they'll be there to answer anything that you may see there, and we'll talk about all of them. Last note, Simone and the rest of the staff are here as well, and they're able to jump in. So any question that gets asked in the chat, if it's something that we need to share with all of you, then that's what I'm going to do. Simone's going to tell me. I'm going to tell all of you to make sure that you all see it, and then we'll talk that through. One of the things we say usually at these meetings is that we hope there aren't a lot of questions, not because we don't like questions. In fact, we love questions at Hope. That's one of our favorite things. We talk about all that time from a faith standpoint. You should have questions. That's why we do what we do, right? But when it comes to annual meetings, we hope that you don't have questions because we answered all of them in the weeks leading up to it. That's our hope, that we've got all this information out to you and you've been able to email and ask questions and do all that before we actually get to the meeting itself. So, this year, that's probably not going to happen as well. We imagine there will be a lot more questions just because we haven't been able to be in person and get all this information to you. So normally, we actually say, again, we hope we don't have a lot of questions today. We're just going to recognize you probably do. And that's great. That's totally fine. It is just what it is this year. So that's kind of how we've got that. So again, you can ask questions in Zoom and Facebook and on YouTube. If there are things that, we feel like, we want to make sure everyone gets those things heard. Those folks that are in this room are just going to get my attention. I'll repeat the questions, and we'll answer all of them. All right. So if you are a partner here at Hope, and that means Hope is your home church. You've been part of the partner covenant. We haven't been able to do that this last year. So if you're new to Hope, you may not consider yourself a partner, and that's okay. We'll ask for your vote on a couple of things here. You'll be voting one of 2 ways. Just choose one of 2 ways. Simone and I will track all this tomorrow. We'll take care of all this tomorrow, okay? So you can vote in the chat, or you can vote by sending me an email to bill@hopesnowco.org. You'll choose one of those. We're only going to have 2 votes. They're going to be pretty well spaced out, so it'll be really easy to figure out what we're voting on. So, all right, when we get to these votes, you're going to vote either in the chat, yay or nay, and then you can vote as well, sending me an email, whichever one works for you, okay? So we're going to have 2 votes. We're going to come up here with our first one right away so we can practice this, all right? Here we go. Oh, yes, go to that next one. Sorry. One of the things we have done every time we've done this, we talk as Hope Partners about what it means to be a partner. And it's actually really, really cool. And we thought about being able to do that here again today. But the reality is this is not a great environment for being able to interact and be able to talk about all those things. So we're not going to do that for this particular meeting. We thought, of all the things that we talk about, what it means to be a partner, what's important to us, what's valuable to us, the one that I thought maybe said all this the best was this one. We choose to be inconvenienced for the sake of the gospel. As Hope Partners, we choose to be inconvenienced for the sake of the gospel. That means, right, that all of us, we have the power, the authority to be able to change Hope to meet us and to meet our needs and to be the church that we want it to be. And we choose to be inconvenienced for the sake of the gospel because there are people who don't know Jesus. There are people who don't know the gospel. And it is more important that we are inconvenienced, that we might be able to reach more and more people in this world. That's, we thought, summed up a lot of what we talk about. So as we go through today, just keep that in mind in terms of what we do. All right. This is our first vote. Yes. All right. Your 2021 leadership team. Let's talk about them a little bit. All right. So we've got some continuing members that are continuing on. We've got some new members, and we're going to talk about some people that are retiring from leadership team. So your continuing members, and the way that leadership team is currently designed is that each one of those members has an area of focus that they're there to really be able to give some life and energy and partnership to a particular area. So Mikey Trexel, who will be our chair this year. Greg Walker, who works primarily with connections and volunteers. That means he partners a lot with Simone when we actually have people in the building. Wendy Jones, who works primarily with special events. Chris Jacks, who will be on leadership team, but will also be the finance team chair this year as well. That's the one position that is on 2 of those teams, and so we appreciate that. Our new members this year are going to be Mark Statham, who will be having an emphasis on facilities, and then Adrian Noel will have an emphasis on missions. The way we design our leadership team, we don't just fill slots. There's no set number. The number has a variance in terms of how many people can be on it. That way we're just able to pray and ask folks and ask them to pray and get the right people on the team that need to be there. And so that is our team for this upcoming year. Very excited about all of them. That means, yes, that Matt Lasho, who's been on team, and Janissa Story, who's been on team, they are retiring from leadership team for now. We always put that on there because we reserve the right to pray over them right back on to leadership team if they are just talented and gifted people. They have been incredible and amazing. Matt, Janissa, thank you so much. You guys have done so much for Hope. We've just been blessed by what you have been able to offer and share. We look forward to you volunteering in other capacities at Hope here in the future as well. And do we... and then yes, Wendy Jones, who's in charge of special events like this, has just a thank you for you guys. So thank you so much for that. We know one of the awkward things about this is that you guys aren't able to see all these people, and so we have a picture of all of them. Right, there we go. So that's your leadership team. I'm not sure which is which, but... hopefully that gives you just a good sense of the key folks you have leading you on leadership team. All right, so this requires a legal vote. So what we're going to ask for now is here in the room, Wendy is taking minutes. So someone's going to make a motion to approve the leadership team as a whole. Someone will second that, and then we're going to ask all of you to vote. So here in the room, does one of you who's not on leadership team? Thank you. Andrea makes the motion, and Hannah seconds it. Fantastic. It has been moved and seconded. Please vote either in the chat, on Facebook as well. You can do that. Sarah will check those, and then you can also send an email. And then, again, these will officially be compiled tomorrow. Simone and I will compile all 3 of those areas to make sure that they get voted on. So that's our current vote. Leadership team, aye, nay, yes, no. There you go. All right. No questions have come up so far in any of our chat areas. Good. Perfect. All right. Let's talk about budget. So this will be, again, challenging just because of the format, but I hope more than anything you get out of this, you are excited. Such cool things happened in 2020. Again, thanks to all of you. Thanks for what the Holy Spirit did through us. My gosh, it's awesome. It's so, so cool. Many thanks to our finance team that helped compile all this and put all this together. We're going to tell you some of the highlights of 2020, and then we're going to go over the budget of 2021. All right? So the highlights of 2020 obviously don't require a vote. It's just being able to talk about some of the cool things that we're able to do together, and we'll vote on the budget for 2021 after we present that. So let's talk about 2020 first. Total 2020 giving income at the end ended up being about $305,000. $305,000. That was actually $13,000, almost $14,000 higher than planned, and we can talk about why that was. So when we break down where that came from, offering giving to general fund was $255,000. There was some designated giving. So for those of you that don't know, when you give designated giving, that comes in and it immediately goes to one of those other ministries, and you'll see that those were things that we specifically highlighted. So some of you gave money directly to those, and then we as a church gave to that as well. So we had designated giving for a COVID relief fund, Cascades, Camp, Claire's Place, our building fund, the Christmas meals, Super Bowl. We raised $17,400 for designated giving for that. Those of you that know, we rent out the building. We have a rental house as well. So rental income was actually down quite a bit this year, as you can imagine, but still about $26,000. And then here's the big one. We received a loan, an SBA loan, PPP loan, for $22,362. We received that in April, and that helped pay for payroll in both April, May, and June. A huge thank you to those people that worked on that and allowed that to come in. Those particular loans that were provided by the government as part of COVID relief are able to turn into grants if you turn in the right paperwork and get that approved as well. So we'll talk about that here as well. So that $22,362 is really what allowed us to be higher than planned. We would have been below that, as you can see. Since we were higher by $13,000, that $22,000 actually is what put us over instead of being in the red. And then just some other interest and some other income as well. All right, expenses this year. Our expenses this year were still pretty substantial, even in a down year. Running a business and a church is a business. So $279,000, and that was about $19,000, almost $20,000 less than we had planned. That was reduced to mostly due to reduced staffing through most of the year and some office costs as well. So that breaks down into our staff expenses being a total of about $162,000. Facilities, office program, landscaping, all those, about $52,000. Here's the exciting one. In terms of partner ministry giving to the other ministries that we helped financially support this year, we gave $40,000 this last year. It's so cool. It's the most we've ever been able to give away in a pandemic, in a just an incredible, challenging year. Thanks to all of you, and thanks to, again, so many other people, we were able to bless so many different things. It's so, so cool. So hopefully you've been seeing in the email that we've been sending out kind of who we've been financially supporting: Cascades Camp, Covenant Missionaries throughout the world, the Honeybee Cafe, this cool mission down in Mexico, Pacific Northwest Conference, kind of our local conference that we financially support as well, Housing Hope, Claire's Place, Lake Stevens Community Meal, COVID-affected people and ministries, $40,000, just awesome. And that's so, so cool. There was some designated account spending this last year as well. Want to highlight that. The rental house, we had to do some repairs to that. We did a rezoning process that actually gets to the building. We'll talk more about that. We did some upgrades while you guys were all gone. There was no one here, so we did a lot of work on the lighting and things like that. That was a ton of fun. And then, yes, hopefully you all notice, we upgraded our online presence and cameras and sound and all those things like that. So that all came out of designated accounts for which we had savings for that. So that's good. So the net position in total is we had a gain of, quote unquote, $25,000 for 2020. We had initially forecasted about a $7,000 net loss. That $25,000, if you think about that, if we can go back to that SBA loan, was about $22,000. So we were able to essentially, because of that, do some really, really cool things. Thanks to that particular loan, that made a huge impact on us being able to maintain our staffing and therefore actually do some other stuff, help a lot of other things in that process. So that was pretty cool. Let's see. I think we've got some wrap-up notes. So the finance team wants us to know there are a number of 2020 realized revenues and costs significantly above and below the approved 2020 budget just due to the fact that it was an unforeseen COVID environment. And that obviously was most of the year. In terms of the budget that we approved last year and the budget as in terms of it looks, there was a fair amount of fluctuation, as I'm sure was true for all of you and your home budgets and your businesses as well. But when all is said and done for 2020, the efforts to control costs and the relative success of navigating the COVID impacts left us in a good financial position heading into 2021. We've worked to adjust the 2021 budget to account for some COVID impacts to the best of our knowledge. So we have adjusted our budget accordingly. We were able to learn a few things. We were able to keep some costs down, of course, throughout the year. Hospitality budget was way down. Coffee budget was way down, mostly because Pastor Dave wasn't here for the entire time. But there are all kinds of things that we were able to keep down, but there are other expenses that were up in terms of other stuff. Our cleaning bills, in terms of our supplies, that was way up. So some things like that. So that all happened in 2020. And because of that, we've got some plans on 2021 and how we think that's going to shake out as well. I'm going to give you just a couple of highlights that you're going to be looking for in the 2021 budget. This is what we're going to vote on next. Oh, actually, I'll pause here. I'm just driving through. Any questions out of the 2020 budget that I can answer? If you've got a question in Zoom or YouTube, or on Facebook about the 2020 budget that you would like for me to answer, I would be happy to do so at this time. And I'm going to pause a little bit because I know there's a delay. Do a little dance. And no, we're good? All right, cool. If that comes up, go ahead and we can jump back to that. But let's look at 2021. This will be the proposed budget. I want to talk about a few things that you're going to notice, and then we'll actually just going to go through the budget. Hopefully, you've got an email link that Simone has been sending out where you can be able to view the budget. It is posted on our website. Trying to have all this in front of you as transparent as possible so you can see it there, but we'll have it in front of you as well. So first off, you're going to see that we have a flat income. We are not projecting an increase in terms of our income giving. And there will not be an SBA loan option for us this year. So whatever we're able to receive in terms of offerings and in terms of rent, that will be our income for this upcoming year. So you'll notice that. Just a note, staffing now, we hope, is set. We don't think we'll have any new hires for this upcoming year. We are really excited about the staff that we've got, and we'll talk about them a little bit. So that's kind of coming up. Programs have money planned to be spent, assuming that we can restart them. So you'll see some money in there for programs. We hope that at some point we can start doing things back and in person again, and we can start diving into some of our programs. So who knows if we'll get back to Wednesday Night Alive and youth programs as they were, but we want to have some money in there for that. We think that we'll be doing less designated fund spending this year. We did a fair amount of that this last year for a variety of reasons, because honestly it was a good time to be able to do all that. So we think we'll have some of that, we'll have less of that this year. All right, so Andrea is going to switch to our budget view. Now we can look at that. So here's the budget as we would ask for your vote when it's all said and done. Revenue. We believe that offering, we're projecting $250,000, and rent about $37,000. Those are the two biggest ones by far. Again, a couple other small pieces. That rent is down a little bit than what I think we would normally have, but again, that's just kind of assuming some of the COVID challenges. If you think about it, just from my standpoint, rent allows us to do some staffing that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. That's not exactly just a straight across, but that's always helpful for me because we're able to have these rental relationships. We're able to do some stuff with our staffing that really helps our ministry. So I really, really appreciate being able to make that happen. And yes, that offering is essentially about flat for what we saw for 2020. It would be wonderful if that would grow, but we're just trying to be conservative with not knowing everything going on. So that's the revenue. Now let's talk about expenses. This is my favorite thing, to be able to talk about my own salary in front of all of you. This is why, Matt Lashua, where are you to be able to talk about this for me so I don't have to. So that's up there, obviously, in terms of that. I really get excited talking about our other staff because I normally don't get to talk about that. So let me talk about our other amazing staff who are fantastic and work incredibly hard. They have done so much over the course of this last year. I want to highlight just a couple of things. Sarah, who's been on staff all year and kept things afloat from a worship and music standpoint. My goodness, in a very, very challenging year, not knowing if it was going to be her, a team, whatever it might be. So thank you to her. Hannah Jones, who came on in the middle of a pandemic and did youth ministry and kids ministry without being able to see the youth and the kids. So cool. She's been incredible and amazing. Linda, our incredible custodian who has kept things clean and safe all year and one of the hardest things possible. We are so thankful for her. And then, yes, we were able to bring on Simone Carroll, our latest staff person, doing connections and communications, something that we've talked about for years at Hope. She has done so much. The Advent Project and so many other communications things are happening because of her. They're amazing. They're so cool. Now we've got Brandon on as well to be able to help out with worship. We're super excited about all this. So, one, the staff's amazing, and two, there are salary increases in the proposed budget for all of them. You'll also notice in there, let's see, that there is childcare and nursery in there as well, hoping that we have kids come back someday. Last note, you'll also notice that there is some budget money in there for an office administrator. We currently don't have an office administrator. So again, just as a review of 2020, Pastor Dave officially retired, smartest guy in the room, to retire right before all this happened. And then Kendall also moved on into full-time ministry, and then Laura, who was our office administrator, had got to the point where she needed to move on to other work as well. A lot of that work has, again, been taken on by other staff positions. The one that hasn't is office administrator. That's mostly being done by both myself and then Simone. So that's somewhat of a placeholder in there. If we can get back to that point of being able to bring a person on part-time to help out with that, that would be great. Also, big thank you to our volunteer, Sherry Goodwin, who helps out on Tuesdays and does a lot of that. Yay, you're awesome. So that's all cool. Just as a side note, I wanted to say the fact that Pastor Dave has retired and Kendall has moved on and Laura has moved on and Janae has moved on, and yet all of our previous staff still are connected to Hope, that's very rare. That doesn't happen, honestly, at most churches. That says something to all of you and to all of them, that they're just really awesome people and high-character people. But the fact that, they continue just to be part of Hope and are supportive of Hope, that's a blessing to us. And, that just says something awesome. So thanks, Dave and Kendall and Laura and Janae. All right. So that leads to a total line item staff budget of about $199,000, $200,000, a fair amount of that. Facility expenses, we think, again, all things being equal, that those would be spot on accurate because that's based on actuals from what we ended up with at 2020. It may change, again, because, COVID happens and things change a little bit. But that's what we feel comfortable with right there in terms of building maintenance, property tax, gas, garbage, all that stuff like that. Some of those are down. We were able to try and keep some of our utility expenses down this past year because people weren't here all that much. So we're guessing in terms of how much they'll need to go back up as people return. So total facility expenses at $33,600. All right, office and operating expenses, not a lot there. You'll see actually a couple of larger jumps if you were going back. You would see a couple of larger jumps in terms of advertising and in terms of website. We increased those quite a bit this last year. They may even increase even more in the future. This web presence and our advertising presence is something that will just continue to grow. We're so thankful for an audience beyond just those that are able to join us here in person. So even when we're back in person, we will always live stream. We'll always have this going on. So we'll need to continue just to grow that. So that's your office and operating expenses. And then program expenses, that's right, they're going to happen. We will get there. We will have Wednesday Night Alive. I'll give a note on Chick, Women's Ministries, Performing Arts Camp. We might even do that. Youth and Family, there's some cool stuff. We'll see. Those aren't huge expenses this year. Hopefully we can grow those in 2022 as kind of we get back into that. Chick is the National Youth Conference that would normally happen this next summer, but that's already been postponed because of COVID. They just weren't sure where that was at. So where normally you would see a line item in there in order to send some of our kids to Chick. It's our hope that we would be doing that in the future instead. All right. Let's talk benevolence. Benevolence is the plan money that we give away. Again, this in 2020 was what we ended up being able to give away, $40,000. Our plan budget is for this next year to be $26,000, and you can see where it all breaks down. Essentially where it was last year, except for one change, and we want to highlight that. So, Everett. Evangelical Covenant Church, our global missions. We support 4 different missionary couples throughout the world. We will continue that. We think one of those couples might be retiring here in this next year, but until they do, we continue to financially support them. So we'll do that. The Pacific Northwest Conference, again, our local conference that supports us, we financially support them as well. For local ministries, both Housing Hope and Cascades Camp, we'll continue to financially support them this year as well. The Honeybee Cafe, that was the Mexico mission trip we thought we were going to go on this last summer. I don't think we'll be going there this next summer, but eventually, someday, we will go and be able to see the Honeybee Cafe live and in person. It's going to be really cool, just a neat ministry. So that's going on. And then the Jesus Collective. So hopefully you've been hearing me talk about that group. It is just an awesome, awesome group of like-minded, Jesus-centered churches and pastors that are just finding unity in terms of how we reach people in our communities together. They have been incredibly helpful to me. They're the kids curriculum that we use in terms of with our kids. Just excellent stuff. And so much like we are partnering with the Pacific Northwest Conference, we are also doing that now with the Jesus Collective as well. Being partners with them allow us to be able to utilize a number of the resources that we're already doing. So that's a cool thing. And then discretionary benevolence are things that just as they come up, we can do. And as we saw again this last year, if there is more we can do, we'll do that as a church. And we'll also ask you guys to jump in with that as well. So that leads us with a budget of $287,000 plus $400 in terms of expenses to match that revenue for a completely flat $0 budget. We fully anticipate that happening because nothing's going to change or go wrong in 2021. All right, so there's a lot of information that we just threw at you. Again, I apologize for this in this setting, in this format, but technically what we need to do here is we need to move to have the budget approved and then seconded, and then we can take questions before you vote. That's actually technically what you're supposed to do. So we're going to do that. Don't vote yet, right? We're going to make sure we take time for questions. But would someone who's not in the budget, so let's see, some of you guys over there, excellent. Tim Dell moves to approve the budget. Second from Greg Walker. Questions. I would love to answer any questions. Yes. Yes, excellent. The question is the Amazon box part of the rental income, the Amazon robot that we're going to have? Yes, it is. We have heard back from them a little bit on that. We think that that'll actually come into play probably in February, maybe March at the latest. Another question. The question is if we were eligible for another PPP SBA loan that, again, we received $22,000 for last year. We are not eligible this year. I've already talked with the Heritage Bank, and we did not meet the requirements to apply for that this year. So, yes. Good questions. Other questions? Yes, right here. What is the special interest custodial? Thank you for bringing that up. It's actually one of our favorite things. For those of you that have been here, we have a young gentleman with some particular special needs that comes in and does custodial work for 1 hour a week as part of a program that's run here in Everett. He is our friend Alex. He is awesome and amazing. He brings joy to our office, and so as part of that, we financially pay him. It's his job, 1 hour a week. And so when that line item shows up, that is that. And if you've never been here when Alex is here, you are missing out. He's a really, really great guy. Other questions? What about building the... Oh, yes, the deck. Yes, we will get to, excellent question. So the question is, what about building and the outdoor structure? We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. It is not part of this budget, though. That's totally fair. And we could, because that would require a separate vote if and when we would get to that anyway. So don't worry about that not being in this budget, and we'll talk about the building process and outdoor structures here in a couple of slides. So hang on tight for that. But yeah, that would require a second vote anyway. All right. Oh, yes, over here. Oh, good question. It is not the same. Someone asked if that was the same Alex who helped out with the Lego part of the Christmas episode. No, that was Daniel, actually, who helped out with that. Again, so cool, Daniel Larson, who did our Lego portion of the kids program. This is a different person, Alex, who helps out with that. Other questions? Looking good? Yeah, a little bit of delay. Sorry. All right, we're going to open the vote. And if more questions come up, still jump in. We'll do that. We can go back on this. All right? So now, same thing. We're going to vote either in the chat or on Facebook, or you can email me as well. Aye, nay, yes or no, whatever works for you. We'll vote on the budget now as it has been proposed. There's been hopefully definitely a long enough gap between those two that everyone knows. All right, so that's just our second vote. Cool. So again, we've got other cool stuff. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, if you've got more questions on any of the stuff that we've talked about, throw those in the chat as we talk about these last couple of things. All right, let's talk about our finance team. We have two really official teams here at Hope. We have a lot of volunteers who help out in all kinds of different ways. But we have two leadership teams. Our leadership team that we voted on earlier, and then our finance team. And we want to just talk about them for a minute. At previous churches maybe that you've been at or that I've been at, oftentimes the leadership team is also asked to be the finance team, and that can be a real challenge. The leadership team is called to be the spiritual leaders of the church. They're called to help lead us in terms of the ministry that we do together. And we want that to be their primary focus. And so because of that, we have a finance team where, again, their primary focus is to lead the financial ministry of the church. And we always say this, the finance team serves the leadership team and not the other way around. We've said every single year, the leadership team could literally say to the finance team, hey, we want to do this ministry. We don't know how we can possibly afford it. Go and figure that out. And that's it. Like we really just want to have that in from a mindset that if we think God's calling us to do something, we're going to do it. And then the amazing finance team figures out how to do that. So we're just so blessed with a finance team that does that. These are the continuing members on finance team this year. So that'll be Janelle Sire and Kathy Caleb and Cheryl Mercer. Our newish member is Chris Jacks. Again, Chris Jacks has served on the finance team previously and has been on leadership team. He's actually moving into the role of being the finance team chair this year. He wasn't, that was Matt Lashwa previously, so Chris is going to do that here for this next year, so he's kind of new, kind of not. And then we have two new members, Patty Withrow and Andrea Dell, and that means a big thank you to Bonnie Larson as she retires from finance team. For now, Bonnie, you are incredible and amazing. Thank you so much. We will have a thank you for you as well that Wendy has gotten, so we're super, super blessed by that. Similar, we wanted you guys to be able to see this finance team, so there they are. That's good. I'm not sure which one Chris Jacks is, but he's in there somewhere. Very good. Yeah, Chris could be Sandra Bullock. That's good. All right. So that's your finance team. They're fantastic and amazing. They've had a very, very tough year trying to be able to do all of their work, socially distanced and all that. That's been hard to do. So thank you to all of them. Again, legally, we don't vote on the finance team, but we do a vote of acclamation, essentially, just in all eye together. So this isn't a legal vote, but we would ask that you would give your vote of encouragement to the finance team and a big thank you to them for their hard work as they take this on. So, yes, thank you. You guys are awesome. Perfect. Cool. All right. And just a couple of ministries want to highlight. We'll take questions on these as well, but note these aren't necessarily voting actions in terms of where we're at. If you were on here a couple weeks ago, you were just talking about the Cars to Housing possibility, and we won't review all of that, but we just want to highlight a little bit of that. So it's a program to utilize our parking lot as a safe parking area for families that have been screened by the Interfaith Family Shelter here in Everett. So it's a set specific program. The people that would be allowed to park here are exactly that, allowed to park here, screened. And the feedback from that informational meeting was quite positive. We got a lot of really, really good feedback, encouragement on that. So we thank you for that. Thank you for listening to that. Thank you for sending in that feedback. So we think our next steps are these. We wanted to tell you that. Our next steps are, one, we're going to figure out how to talk to our neighbors about this process. We're going to figure out, honestly, how we do that with everything kind of going on. So we're going to take that step. And then we're going to reconnect, now that we've necessarily stopped talking, but really reconnect now with Interfaith to create a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, to host the program. So if you host the program, there's actually essentially kind of a legal doc that we would sign on and say, all right, this is what we are going to do, and this is what you are going to do, and that is what we would vote on as a church. So we don't have that done. We don't have that ready. We haven't even talked to the neighbors yet. So those are the next steps. We're going to talk to our neighbors, assuming that that goes well. We would work on an MOU that then we would bring back to you as a congregation, and that's what we would vote on. So those are our next steps. I can answer other questions about that, but we won't have any more information until, one, we've talked to the neighbors, and then two, we have that MOU, so we can all read that and all see if that's something that we want to do together. Again, if we were to do this, our target's probably May, June in terms of a start. So here we are, almost February, so we're right on track to do that if that's something we vote to do. So that's coming up. Next thing would be, the building. Here, let's talk about this. So much like the Cars to Housing idea, there was a small team that was working on that. You have an amazing building team, and they have done an incredible amount of work, not just this past year, but even the year before that as well. During all of this kind of COVID, we just kind of kept on working, and we have some information that we'd like to share. Any of you that have ever been involved in a building process, you know it can be a little bit complicated, and it's helpful to look at things and to have face-to-face conversation. And so we've been a little stuck. We're like, how do we do this? And we thought, you know what? We're not sure whenever we're going to get everyone back. So we're going to do, very similar to the Cars to Housing, just an informational meeting. Truly an informational meeting. There will not be a vote to sell the church and move to Hawaii. as tempting as that might be, right? Like none of that is going to happen. But on February 28th, we're going to do an informational meeting because we want you guys to know all the work that's been done by this building team. We just want to get that in front of you so that when we do get back together, we can maybe move those conversations for a little bit more. So want to be really good on that. So let's see. Here's the thing. We've been blessed by this building. My goodness, we've been blessed. There's no mortgage on this building. That's been incredible, especially this last year with everything kind of going on. So we're super excited about that. But facilities, buildings, they're always just a tool. They're a tool in order to reach people for Jesus. And every tool needs to both be evaluated, and sometimes those tools need to be updated. As an example, we had some cameras that we were using for live stream. Once we realized live stream needed to happen even better, we spent more money in order to upgrade, in order to do that better. A building is the same way. This building's awesome, but it is also now getting to the point where we know some decisions need to be made in terms of how we utilize this tool in order to reach people for Jesus. So there are things, we've looked at a variety of different things. We're going to share all those things with you on February 28th at 11:05. You'll actually start getting some information about that before that, so you can check that out. Yeah, we've talked about, again, major rebuilds and minor rebuilds and building a deck outside. We can talk about the rezoning process in terms of what that means. If we were to sell either a small portion of our land or the whole thing or all those things like that, again, no decisions have been made, but that building team's done a ton of hard work, and we just want to get that information to you. So that's what's going to happen on the 28th at 11:05. Again, purely informational, no vote, but yeah, a chance to see the hard work about that. So yeah, some of the stuff you've heard of us talk about, again, like being able to fix the walkway or do the deck or all that, we'll have much more of that for you at that meeting. It'll be just specifically all those questions. So that's coming up. If you guys got any questions on that, jump in. But really want to talk to you about this Lent and Easter. We're very excited about this. We are going to do a Lenten project for all of you. It's going to be going home in the next week or two for all folks, all families, everyone connected to Hope. So similar to the Advent boxes, you'll receive something that we will ask you to do every single day during the season of Lent for the 40 days of Lent. That actually, again, specifically doesn't include Sundays. Sundays aren't part of Lent. We hope that you join us for the live stream and for worship. But there will be a project that you do. We'll just give an early shout out to Sandy Goranson. You are amazing. You guys cannot wait to see this project that we've got for you. We're very excited about that. But that'll be coming to you all here in the next week or two. Simone has done an awesome job kind of getting that ready, and that'll be going out very soon. Also, we're going to be doing Wednesday night devotions that'll be live streamed beginning on February 17th at 7 p.m. So we want you to join us. Again, if you grew up in a traditional church, you might have done a Lenten soup supper, something where you gather together for worship on a Wednesday evening during the season of Lent. We want to do something similar to that. We have appreciated this live stream environment, the interaction we can have during the chat. So on Wednesdays beginning February 17th, we'll be doing devotions. There will be a little bit of music. There will be a presentation on a particular Bible passage. It'll be 25 minutes long, and it'll be live stream just like we're doing right now. So please start thinking about that. Make that part of your routine for the season of Lent, beginning again on Ash Wednesday, getting us up until the season of Easter. We also were going to open up a Zoom right after that, a little 30-minute Zoom for those people that want to engage more in those devotions. So you can plan on Wednesday joining us for about an hour total if you would like, or just for the 25 minutes or so that we'll be doing the devotion. So all that is going to help us in our journey towards Easter. Easter this year is April 4th. We know we will have some type of in-person worship on April 4th. We aren't sure what that will look like. Maybe we'll do some outdoor worship again, much like we did for Christmas Eve. Maybe we'll be able to have people back in the building, do multiple services. We aren't sure about any of that, but we know Easter will be important for us to gather together and worship somehow or another. So we'll work on that together. That'll be tons of fun. We had all these pop-up tents ready for rain for Christmas Eve, and we didn't even need them. The weather was so amazing, so maybe we'll do that again. We'll get all the pop-up tents here, and that'll guarantee that it'll be sunny, and we'll do outdoor worship. I'll have to figure out, Hannah, we do an Easter egg hunt every year. What are we going to do? Launch eggs at kids? Yeah, out of one of those, like shirt cannons. We'll like boom, just we'll figure it out. We got this. We'll do something for all of us together. So, very excited about Lent. That begins here, in just a short time on the 17th. So, look forward to that. All right. Other business and further questions. If you've got other questions, you can throw them in the chat right now. That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. If you want to email them to me or to Simone, you can do that. Those are our emails up there. And we'll keep this open and live here for a little while longer to see what we might have missed on anything. And we'll close in prayer here as well, too. So, anything else in the chat? Looking pretty good. Big thank you to everyone here in the room that helped this. Thank you to all of you for putting up with this environment and just being so gracious about making this meeting work. Truly, again, Hope meetings are awesome and fantastic. And this just highlights that for me, that we've been able to do this and pull this off with your graciousness. So that's really, really cool. Yes. Oh. It wasn't a cat, it was a UW Husky. That one person here was trying to like prime the whole Husky Cougar thing a little bit. So no, just a little subtlety. That's all. All right. Any other questions? Happy to take them. All right, we might be good. Okay. Y'all are fantastic and amazing. Humbling honor and privilege to be able to serve all of you in the role of pastor. Thank you for that. It's been an incredible year. Can't wait to be able to worship together with you live and in person, but I really know that we have been worshiping together this way, and I look forward to doing that in the months to come, especially leading up to Easter. Let's close with a word of prayer, and then on we'll go. God, thank you so much again for working through us and with us, for challenging us, for loving us in the midst of all that has been going on. You have still called us to be the church, and we have done just our humble best to try and figure out how to do that. I pray that, in a world that needs love and grace and compassion, we might be able to show that in our lives, and in our words, in our actions, and in our worship. So I look forward to being able to do that again in this new year together. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. Thank you all.